I'd like to bring you a conversation with the new state minister of the autonomous region of Nagorno-Karabakh, Ruben Vardanyan, someone I've known for a long time. Full disclosure, I'm Armenian and I follow these issues particularly closely, but of course, as always, do my best to bring you fair and unbiased views on geopolitical issues like this. And now, our conversation. Ruben Vardanyan, it's very good to see you again, sir.
Same, Jan. Very nice to see you.
I mean, truth and advertising here. You and I have known each other for probably 30 years in very different circumstances. You just became, literally a month ago, you became state minister. In other words, you're in charge of this small Armenian enclave that we've known for a long time as Nagorno-Karabakh, that the Armenians refer to as Artsakh. I guess I want to say congratulations, but it's not clear that's the right sentiment.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, and it's very. I did a step which I didn't expect it myself, but I thought it's very important for my nation, for this enclave people who was living there.
So, I mean, the big news and the reason why you and I are talking today is not because you've just taken this position, but rather because your region has one way out, basically, to get to Armenia, and it's just been cut off. That corridor, that transit corridor, has just been cut off by Azeri protesters for 3 days now, and that feels like a humanitarian crisis. What happened?
You're right. This was the main reason why I moved from Moscow to Stepanakert, the capital of Artsakh, because I felt something going wrong, and I want to stay with the people who've been living in this region 30 years and saying, I'm with you. I'm ready to share all the difficulties which you are facing. And because the challenges started not now, challenges started before. And a week ago, the Azerbaijan decided to block the road, which only one way to Armenia. And they put ecological requirements saying we have an ecology problem, which is, again, we found strange because we said we're happy to accept any international best specialist to come and check any ecological issue, which you can maybe trying to find in our mining business, which we have in Artsakh. But they put conditions and they put requirements, which was unacceptable from point of they didn't want to anyone to come except them. We said, but this is not the real. We need to see the real ecological people, not the fake what you are putting in a street and showing us like the ecological specialist. They put so many requirements in not only ecology, but in other areas about the mining business. And they don't want to talk with us at the same time. And it says it's unacceptable. If you want to talk with the other part, you need to sit to the table and discuss this all by face-to-face with maybe international representatives who will be part of this negotiation process. But you cannot avoid the government of Artsakh. You cannot avoid the state which was established and operating 30 years already.
Your territory is not formally recognized as independent by the government of Azerbaijan.
It's true. It's true. But at the same time, we all know the story about Artsakh. It was become independent before Soviet Union collapsed. People who was living in Nagorno-Karabakh, Autonomous Oblast, made the voting in referendum and become free from Azerbaijan, Soviet Republic in the 1990s. Why, again, it was all happened so many years ago, and people was living here with their own constitution, with the parliament, with all the government institutions operating like independent state. This is why, and much more democratic. By the way, people saying, why are you not accepting to be living in Azerbaijan? People are saying, to be honest, I feel bad for the Azeri people, not the Armenian people. We have a country where there's no democracy, and people, the president and his wife is the vice president, and we don't have any human rights, really human rights for people who've been living in Azerbaijan, being Azeris, not Armenians. Why, for us, we know it's strange to have this discussion because our Artsakh is representing much more democratic, much real democratic country with the real democracy institution which operating in this place 30 years.
So, but as of right now, there is no transit. There is no way to get out of.
No.
Is that correct?
No, we had around 120,000 people. There are 30,000 kids who unfortunately cannot go to school because we don't have not only roads, but also they cut off get gas also. And they basically getting full blockade except electricity, which we actually day by day, but we can cut. We cannot move the people who needs to be medical services because not everything you can do in Artsakh. And we have a couple patients who are really in a bad stage and we couldn't do anything to move them out of the Artsakh. We don't get any food, we don't get any medicaments, we don't get anything. That's why it's full blockade. It's like I said, like Western Berlin. For me, it looks like the Western Berlin. The only thing which we believe it can be done to change the situation is creating like Western Berlin,
an airlift,
air bridge.
Yeah,
yes,
I knew that's what you were going to say. And are there planes that are flying in and out from Yerevan to Stepanakert?
No, never. We had the airport which was fully equipped and reconstructed and can operate for quite big airplanes. For Boeing 737 or Airbus 319, but at the same time, it's never been because Azerbaijan never allowed to fly. But I think now with humanitarian catastrophe, it's the only way we can really get anything from outside. It's getting the airplanes who can deliver us all what we needed.
Now, there's been a lot of military fighting between Armenia and Azerbaijan. Shelling, soldiers have been killed. The Azeri military today is considerably stronger than the Armenian military, and of course, that meant that a lot of territory that the Azeris had occupied, that the Armenians had occupied, have been retaken by Azerbaijan. Are there indications that this is going to relapse into a broader war between the two countries?
I hope not, but I just want to remind that the war was started in 1990 from Azerbaijan. They tried to make the ethnic cleaning to Artsakh and Nagorno-Karabakh people, and they was winner. We've been winner in the first 2 years, but they lost everything in 1992, 1994. That's why territory was occupied after they tried to basically clean up all the Armenians who've been living in Shahmian region, Gedashen region, not only Karabakh. It was many places where the Armenian was living in a concentrated in big communities, and they clean up with all other places except the Karabakh. And I hope it will not happen again and again because we need to stop this type of approach. One day you're winner, second day we are winner. We need to find a way how, with all the difficulties, with all the hateness that we have, we need to find a way to live together like neighbors. Not together from country, but neighbors who needs to accept each other and not hate each other and not kill each other. That's why our message was always we will not live together like one state, but we can live together in one region because we've been living close to each other by hundreds of years. But in the same time, we cannot live in one state because we have a different culture, different attitude to democracy, different approach to the many other things, and we don't see ourselves be part of the country, which have an absolutely different system of management of their own people.
Now, your point that when the Armenians were stronger, in a stronger position, they didn't want to negotiate, even though people were telling them to. Now the Azeris are in a stronger position; they don't want to negotiate, and of course, the people in between are the ones that suffer, and we're seeing that right now. Now, one of the other major challenges you have, of course, is the fact that Armenia's principal friend is Russia. And they're not doing so well right now, and they're a little bit distracted, right? And certainly their relations with the West are completely broken for reasons that are thoroughly understandable. What happens in the situation where the protector of Armenia and of your own autonomous region is suddenly sort of out to lunch? I mean, I assume you've been talking with them over the last few days, but what's the nature of your relationship with the Russian government right now?
We have a Russian peacemaker peace soldiers who've been staying with us the last 2 years after the 44 days war. The problem what we face with them is that we have a very limited number. It's only less than 2,000 of them, and they have a very clear mandate and light weapon. And this is why, for us, one of the points we'll be putting in a negotiation with the Russians and with the Azeris, saying we need to have a much longer terms of the peacemaker staying with us in the region. Second, we want to get international organization recognizing this mandate. And by the way, it's surprisingly, I think it's only one conflict with the France and the United States. There was no big difference between Russia, and they accepting that Russia, US, and France can work together in this dispute. This is why it's a quite unusual situation with the current reality that we are facing in other places where West and Russia don't have different views about what Artsakh needs to stay independent from Azerbaijan. The France recently, the Senate of the France recognized the rights of Armenians living in Artsakh to have their own state, and they've been supporting strongly this situation of Armenians trying to keep their own independence.
What are Azerbaijan's demands as of right now?
Basically, they said it's our territory. We want to do whatever we want to do it, and we don't care about your institutional status. We are treating you like the people who is living in our territory, like our citizens. At the same time, it's really strange what they're doing, because if they're treating us like their citizens, they're not allowing people who've been doing farming, for example, to do their work, and shooting people who are just doing their farming work. Or they've been cutting now the electricity, they're cutting the gas and the roads for people who not allowed them to get normal life. That's why it's strange when you want to attract people to stay in your country, at the same time creating so much terrible pressure. But Azerbaijan basically, in one hand, saying you can live a normal life in our country and just being one of the ethnic minorities, and at the same time doing everything but everybody will live from here, and they want to clean up, make the ethnic clean the place. But Armenian world was one of the most important part of Armenian world, because, for example, our founder of our alphabet, Mestre of Mashdod, his first monastery where he started his first school in the 5th century, it was in Artsakh, in Karabakh. And this is why it's not only a place for people who living here, but it's a place for the entire Armenian nation who living in different part of the world, because it's a symbol of Armenia, one of the key Armenian places for Armenian.
For people that don't know, I mean, back when Stalin was the Commissar of Nationalities, this is well before he took over the Soviet Union, he created, right, all of these basically nested territories that made it very difficult to ever imagine the Soviet Union would fall apart, because it would create all of this conflict. And you see that in Central Asia, you see it in the Caucasus, you see it in the Middle Volga, you see it everywhere. So it's unfortunately, these traps that have been laid for generations now are becoming real violent wars between very different nations that are living next to and amidst each other. Now, I've seen the Europeans have condemned the blockade, and they've called on the Azeris to end it as soon as possible. Have the Americans made a statement yet?
Yes, also the State Department made a statement also saying they are very worried about the situation. They put requests for Azeri to open the road. Otherwise, it's a big danger for not only by relationship between Artsakh and Azeri, but also Azerbaijan, but also Armenia, Azerbaijan peace agreement will be under big danger, as they said in their statement.
And what about Turkey? Of course, NATO ally, but also the most important ally of Azerbaijan. Just how complicated this gets, of course. Has Erdogan made any statement? Has he responded to what President Aliyev and others have been doing?
No, but the Minister of Foreign Affairs just recently made a statement. They fully support requirements from Azerbaijan to have a ecological right for ecological monitoring of the situation in the mining businesses, which belong to Azerbaijan nation and Azerbaijan state. So they support it from level of Minister of Foreign Affairs.
So tacitly supporting the blockade as it stands right now.
Yes, yeah, we are supporting fully, yeah. But
so what's your best hope for how this gets resolved quickly? What needs to happen?
People who not been here, we don't understand. Artsakh, it's quite a unique place. If not only historical is Armenian motherland of the many of generations of people who've been living here, but also people who've been very, very strong. They're very strong by the character. We got two marshals of Soviet Union, Bagramyan and Babajanyan. We got 28 generals. People here is ready to fight, ready for support their own destiny and their own motherland, and they are ready to fight for their own values. And this is why I think the Artsakh are ready for staying as long as necessary to get the right to say, you must understand we can talk, when you will recognize us like independent state who can operate in some level of the autonomy from everyone, with understanding we are small, we cannot be fully independent in a world where everybody is depending from each other, but we can be the only neighbors. We cannot be together. And this is, I think, the Artsakh people basically said, this is a red line for us. We will not do anything else. If you are not accepting us like part of the your neighbor reality, it's really not an option. This is why I think it's a situation which is bringing all of us in reality, and we all need to accept this is the way, but we can only live if we can live like neighbors, but nothing else.
Well, Ruben, my friend, of all of my friends that have left Moscow, they all left for places that were less isolated than Russia. You're the only person I know that left for a place that's more isolated than Russia, which is completely crazy. But I really hope that we can end this soon and get back to something approaching normalcy. It's really good to see you.
Thank you, Ian. I just want to say, in a crazy world we're living now, where everything is changing and become dramatical, dangerous, I'm feeling very happy because I'm in place with my people. I'm in a place that you really feel nature of the key values and people who really honest, hard worker, and very unique by their culture. And staying with them, it makes me much happier and much easier in this crazy world that we are living. And this is why I feel, despite this old blockade, much more happier compared many of my friends who live now in other nice places in the world, but they all lost themselves what's happening and what we need to do. Thank you for this opportunity to talk to you.
Always good to talk to you, man.